Hello, my name is Kathleen Lisson, and this is the presentation on meditation and mindfulness. So if you want to learn a little bit about meditation, you have come to the right place. Okay, so my financial disclosure is I am a contract trainer for Tactile Medical. I'm also author of the book Swollen, Bloated, and Puffy. And who else am I? I am a close certified lymphedema therapist, an MMI certified meditation teacher. I'm a board certified massage therapist and also author of the book Swollen, Bloated, and Puffy. And these are our 5 objectives today. So we'll get through them. Okay, so let me talk first about something that I found in this book. If anyone has it at their home, or if they've seen it before, it was published last year. It's called Lipedema, the Disease They Call Fat, an overview of clinicians. And the study in this book said that self-compassion is important to, quote, ameliorate the suffering accompanied a deep discrediting of the body from the disfigurement typically accompanying lipedema. So basically that means that one way of increasing self-compassion is using meditation interventions. This is fabulous. I'm a certified lymphedema therapist and also a meditation teacher. So that's why I was so excited. So let's begin by getting a handle kind of on what meditation is. John Kabat-Zinn, who's from Boston, he's the founding executive director of the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He defines it as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So that quote is, I could spend a half an hour just unpacking that quote, but I'll just let you know that each part of that quote is important to kind of get our arms around meditation. We're paying attention, whether it's focusing on the breath or listening to a guided meditation. It's on purpose, so we're coming back to it even after things are distracting us. It's in the present moment, so we're doing it now. A lot of people will read a lot of meditation books, but you can't you can't get better doing push-ups by reading books on push-ups. You actually have to do push-ups. And then non-judgmentally, and that's the really important part, that if we think we're failing, we're not judging ourselves, we're bringing compassion to ourselves. So we're going to try it now. These are the 5 steps, and I'll go through them, and we can do it for just about a minute. So first, sit comfortably or lie down. This can also apply to people who are on the live feed or they're watching this on the YouTube video. It's whatever position is comfortable for you, that is your meditation position. A lot of times we'll hear that, maybe the spine has to be perfectly erect, or we have to be in this lotus position. And one of the guys I was talking to meditation about yesterday, he's like, well, don't you have to put your hands like this? None of those are necessary. Many of those are historical and they are practiced, but they're not necessary to get to the goal. You can either have your eyes closed or a downward gaze down the nose to a foot, 2-3 feet in front of you. That's what you can do with your eyes. And then just breathing naturally for 5 breaths is what we're going to do. And then when we're picking where we're going to actually feel our breath, just notice where you can feel it. And even for me, it's different in different times when I meditate. Sometimes you can feel the hot and cold air at the tip of the nose. Sometimes you can feel the chest. Sometimes you can feel the belly going in and out. Just whichever part, that's what catches your felt sense of breathing. That's where you want to concentrate. So we'll just do it for 5 breaths right now. And again, if any thoughts are coming, just refocus on the breath wherever you're thinking about it. Okay, so now you can open your eyes if they're closed, wiggle your fingers and toes around, and that's just a little taste of meditation. So let's dive in the research now that we're all calm, right? So the first study that I looked at was self-compassion and body dissatisfaction in women, a randomized controlled trial of a brief meditation intervention by Albertson, Neff, and Dill Shackelford, wonderful researchers. So they enlisted women with body image concerns. That's where they went out and did some advertising. They wanted to get this as the people in their research. And what they did is they listened to self-compassion meditation audio recordings to see if the exposure to the audio recordings would increase the self-compassion and improve body image concerns. So it was a big study. 228 adult women participated. They were recruited through advertisements, and they listened to 3 weeks of self-compassion meditation training podcasts, or they were assigned to the wait list. So this was a 3-week trial. So the mindfulness practices that they used included compassionate body scan, affectionate breathing, a loving kindness meditation that includes the phrases, may I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be kind to myself, may I accept myself as I am. So that's the body of what these people were listening to in the research. So the researchers wanted to measure self-compassion, body dissatisfaction, body shame, body appreciation, and my favorite, because it's so long, contingent self-worth based on appearance. And we'll unpack some of those words a little bit later in the presentation, so we'll have some definitions. And interestingly enough, which is great because it was published research, all the measures were different versus pre-test. And only body appreciation was significantly related to the number of days a week that participants meditated. So even if they just did the meditations, all of these are improving. It doesn't matter, they didn't have to do it every day for 3 weeks. Like many of these goals were met with just a little meditation. So specifically, the ones who are randomly assigned to listen to the meditation podcast have greater increases in self-compassion, 19%, than those randomly assigned to the wait list. The wait list was 5, and if you listen to the meditations, when you got them, when you heard them, increase in self-compassion. And then also significant improvements on all 6 aspects that I mentioned, self-kindness, self-judgment, common humanity, that we're all in this together, isolation, feeling isolated, which is important, mindfulness, and also over-identification. So these meditations can foster self-compassion in a holistic manner through several different ways. So one of the things that I am so frustrated, especially if you're watching this on YouTube on a tiny little screen, is then someone will put up like a whole chart of data and everything's like in 1-point font. So I don't want to do the 1-point font. Here is the study charts here. You can look them on your computer at your leisure to see the study. And even more excitingly, I love Kristen Neff. She's here in Texas. And she has given free on her website the exact podcast that she used in her intervention. So instead of digging through research and trying to replicate it on yourself, this self.compassion.org/category/exercises, all the podcasts are there. You don't have to download them. You can just click on it, and then it posts on the video, on the audio, so you can get that audio. And Kristen Neff has such a nice, soothing voice. I like her voice. So here's a second study. It's brief self-compassion meditation training for body image distress in young adult women. This was Toole and Craig said did this study. And this is interesting because they saw the first study and they said, you know what? Can we do it in just 1 week? Can we not have people have to commit to something for 3 weeks of their lives? What if we did it in just 1 week? So they focused on college-age females. These females did not have any meditation practice. And what they did a little bit differently is the in-person session in the laboratory. So at the beginning of the study, everyone gathered in the laboratory. They showed the podcasts, and they were able to hear them, and then they were able to get their questions answered. and then they had access to the podcast for a week-long period. And interestingly, frustratingly, I assume for the researchers, but actually really valuable to all of us who live regular lives, is that many participants did not add the meditation podcast to their life. They went to that first session and they never did it again. About half the participants only completed the 20-minute body scan meditation provided at the first lab visit. But what still happened? They still benefited on average as much as those who had done the further practice during the week. So that means it's just it's just opening the mind to these podcasts is enough to kind of change something in their lives. They induced measurable changes in their thinking, feeling, and behavior. And interestingly, in this study, which I hadn't thought of before, but the authors brought up an important point, which is that some women do rely on body dissatisfaction as a motivation to continue their health and wellness practices. So this is that critical coach in your brain that's telling you, you know, you're ugly, you're fat, you'll never amount to anything unless you get to the gym. Like you can't, you know, it's that voice inside your head that tells you you can't eat that cookie. And that voice needs to stop. But some women are scared that if they don't have that voice, they don't know how they're going to control themselves. So that could be a possible reason why some of these women did not do the further meditations. So again, here's the study charts for this second one. You can find them. Here we go. So let's try one of the interventions in the study. So I'm going to take us on a little 2-minute visit to each of the podcasts that were in that NEF study. So the first one is affectionate breathing. So what I'll have you do is we're going to do kind of a similar thing to just the awareness of breath. You can close your eyes or keep them open and focus down your nose to a point 2 to 3 feet in front of you. And then we're going to focus on the breath again. And then as we breathe in, I'll say, just think of having kindness and affection for yourself. And as you breathe out, think of having kindness and affection for others, some who are in this room who are suffering just like you. So we'll just do this for a few breaths. So you can put a little half smile on your face. And then as we breathe in, kindness and affection for myself. And as we breathe out, kindness and affection for others who are suffering just like you. Okay, so that's just a little taste of affectionate breathing. So let's jump into what exactly we're trying to affect with these meditation interventions. Kristen Neff is a meditation expert, researcher in self-compassion. She says that self-compassion is 3 intertwined elements. It's both mindfulness, self-kindness, and common humanity, kind of what we were just thinking of, that we're all in this together. Mindfulness is important, so the meditator can notice her suffering in a balanced way. We're not running away from suffering, but we're not, you know, that voice in the head that can just add to the story, and pretty soon we're angry about something for a half an hour, and it's no longer, you know, even in our lives, so it's more balanced. Self-kindness involves care and understanding versus harsh judgment and criticism, and I definitely have that critical coach voice in my head, but I have to get more towards the compassionate coach. Like was said earlier in this conference, some of the things that are going on in our mind, we would never say to another person. We would never allow someone to say those things to our friend, but we allow that tiny voice inside our head to say it to ourselves. So care and understanding versus harsh judgment and criticism. And then a common humanity allows the meditator to understand that our imperfections are a part of being human, and our flaws and inadequacies make us more rather than less connected to one another. So body dissatisfaction, it happens when we evaluate ourselves in a negative light. And body shame is when we judge ourselves as a person negatively because our body does not conform to society's standards. And then body surveillance is when we're endlessly concerned with how our bodies appear to others. So that can be, for some people, it's a 24/7 job. Like when you're walking down the street, it's like, how does my body look to other people? So these are, we can lump them all together, but there's actually certain different things. It's very more complex to have body image concerns. So let's try the compassionate body scan. I heard last night from Catherine Hack. She mentioned the difference between dirty pain and clean pain. And that made me think of a compassionate body scan because there are multiple experiences when we go inside our body, and it might be not only how does my head feel, and I might have a headache, so it's my head hurts, but it's also like, I have a headache because of this, and I always happen to that, and that happened because of this. And it's that story that's the dirty pain that's going on, and we can't sometimes even focus on the head or on the thighs or on the hips or on the butt. You could not, in some people, it would be difficult to just focus on, like, feel into your thighs and what they feel like without that voice coming in and telling you these body image concerns. So that's kind of how I feel. There's a difference between dirty pain and clean pain and meditation. When those thoughts come in, just notice that you're thinking. Just tell yourself silently, it's a thought, thinking, and then return to the breath or return to feeling into that part of your body. So we'll start with the scalp and go down to the shoulders. It'll take about 1 or 2 minutes. So this is a taste of a compassionate body scan. So you can close the eyes or leave them open and focus down. And instead of focusing on the breath, now we're going to focus on different parts of our body. So I'll have you focus on the scalp first, the felt, like what does it feel inside your scalp physically? And it's interesting the first time you do it, like, am I thinking of my scalp from outside? It's like, no, feel into how your scalp feels right now. It might feel a little hot. There might be burning. There might be tension. If you have a headache, the feelings of the headache. And now we can feel into our face, feel the skin on our face. And then I think this is really cool. Like feeling your face is like so crazy for me. We can feel into our neck and just notice what we feel. Is your neck tight? I know we were all flying. We've been sitting here all day. Kind of having compassion for the stress that's in our body. And we can move down to our shoulders. They hold so much of our stress for us, so much of our tension. Just feeling into what our shoulders feel right now. Just noticing and having a compassion. We can bring a soothing and a comforting to our shoulders. Okay, so that's just a little bit of what body scan feels like. And there's a 20-minute, I think it's a 20-minute video that she posts, and that or any other body scan is really good if you have issues falling asleep at night. If you can just lie down in your bed and start that body scan, and like, I can barely get through my whole body with a body scan. Like, I'm just out like a light. It's so great. Even if I'm stressed out, I can find a way to sleep with that body scan. So there are many possible barriers to adding meditation in our life, and I want to bring these up so they're honest. It's not going to be just you. It's many people find these barriers as well. The first is self-critic. If I had a penny for everyone that told me they couldn't meditate, I would have another disclosure to tell because I'd be a millionaire. And then the one I mentioned, self-critic, I need to criticize myself to keep myself in line. Some people can't see another way out except to have that critical coach in charge of their whole life. Honestly, there's a lack of time and schedule, especially for people with lipedema and Derkim's disease. It takes hours of self-care every day. how am I going to come on this stage and tell you 20 more minutes? But if you're doing something else where you can add a meditation podcast in, that might be an option, except when you're driving. Don't do it when you're driving. Some people don't know how to fit it in their schedule, and then you can just work with somebody to see how it can be fit into your schedule. And then there can be a possible need for more support and a community experience. And then there's community. I'll show you a little bit later in the slides how you can find a meditation community. It is wonderful to meditate in a community like we're doing today. It's sometimes not as exciting to do it by yourself on the couch because we're humans and we're meditating together. Like some magical stuff is happening in this room where we're all attuned to our own bodies. So this is my lady, my lipedema lady meditating. And now I want to share some advice from meditators who have lipedema. This is Marion. She's from Kent in the UK. She sits on the couch with her feet grounded. She finds the traditional meditation positions, like I said, with the twisting into a pretzel, and you have to put your hands up here. Those are uncomfortable. Sitting or laying down is comfortable. You need to find the form of meditation that works for you, she says. Gail from Scotland, she's unable to sit on the floor, so she's very comfortable sitting on a chair, hands facing up on the top of her thighs with her eyes closed. And then Abby from California, she uses the Headspace app on her cell phone, and I'll talk about some apps a little later. She sits on her rocker on her front porch for 10 to 15 minutes. She says it starts her day off right, and she uses a pillow behind her back, above her butt, and then another pillow underneath her as well, and a blanket on top. That's how she gets comfortable. So use any pillows, any position, anything that's comfortable. That's how I want you to meditate. It doesn't have to be something very particular. You don't have to get a monk's robes in order to learn how to meditate. Okay, so let's try another intervention. This is the loving kindness meditation, and this is, I might cry. This is my personal favorite. This is the one I really like. So I'll have you start by envisioning a mentor, envisioning someone that you love, that loves you back. It's a very uncomplicated relationship. All it is positive. You can even envision your pet. And because it's a loving, positive relationship. And then you can keep your eyes closed, or you can stare down the tip of the bridge of your nose. And then we'll just take a few breaths. And as you have the vision of them and you're sitting together, and then you're saying to them silently in your mind these 4 things that I'll tell you. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease and well-being. So we're really getting in touch with care and kindness. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease and well-being. And now I'd invite you to imagine that instead of sitting across from one another, you're sitting in circle with them. You're sitting with them. And now you can say, may we be safe. May we be peaceful. May we be healthy. May we live with ease and well-being. Okay, so I'll have you come back. You can wiggle the fingers and the toes. Open your eyes if they're closed. We can compare and contrast the 4 types of meditation I've taken you through today. All are good, all are valid. We started with the awareness of breath, which is just breathing in and out. When we have a thought, just bring ourselves back with our breath. The affectionate breathing, where we add it in, breathing in kindness and affection for ourselves, breathing out kindness affection for others. The loving kindness meditation, which we just did, which has the affirmations. And it's a little sneaky thing, I'll let you know, because even if you know it, it still works. A lot of times, the hardest person to have compassion for is ourselves, for a lot of people. So that can be, it can be hard to go right at that and start having compassion and loving ourselves. But if we're with our mentor and we sit in circle and we can wish for both of us, that can kind of gently ease into that. And then the fourth thing was a compassionate body scan, where we just went into different areas of our body and brought compassion for our stress, noticed what we felt, didn't have to go into that story, just came back to what's actually happening with us. So here's some more resources. Again, the Kristen Neff podcasts. Kristen Neff's website is there. Insight Timer and Headspace are two free apps. I know Insight Timer is free because I use it, and also Headspace is another app. And that's really good. In the old days, before all these fancy apps came, it's like scary stuff. Like you had to set an alarm or else you would be meditating or falling asleep for like, an hour, and then you'd wake up and you'd have all these chores. But now there's all these guided meditations. So all you'd have to type in is body scan if you didn't want, if you wanted to expand past Kristen Neff's podcast, you can see all different kind of meditations. I'm a lymphedema therapist. I have a client, and what I do is I see her twice a week for ongoing lymphedema therapy, and she just has that on her phone, and she picks a podcast, and I'm doing her MLD, and she's listening to the meditation. And then these are some great books by Kristen Neff, Herbert Benson, Newberg, Rick Hansen, and Fully Present, Diane Winston and Susan Smalley. These are meditation books if you wanted to read more about meditation. But like I said, you can't get stronger in push-ups if you just read a bunch of books for push-ups. You actually have to meditate too. But they're really inspiring. And here's my resources. And then this is my contact information. If you have Derkham's disease, I've started a newsletter on my website, lipidematreatment.com, and I was able to interview someone who has Derkham's disease in the April edition of the newsletter. So if you go on the website, you can see that. And she's really fabulous. She has a therapy bird, which I didn't even think was a thing, but she can't have things sitting on her lap because of the pain, but the bird is light enough. And the doctor has said that it's better than any pain medication he could possibly have prescribed for her. So there's a lot of different, I'm always looking for different, ways to solve our problems, new and unique ways to solve our problems. So that is how you find me. But that's a picture of Manhattan, but it's okay because my best friend is from Manhattan. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathleen. We do have time for one question, and we did get one question in.
Yay.
What tips do you have for someone who's never even thought about meditation before? Mm-hmm. Like this is a foreign concept to them. Like, sounds great. How do I do this?
Yep. So there's two things. One, the podcasts and the Insight Timer. That seems to be how people are starting these days. So just start with the awareness of breath, and then also if you type in like meditation group and then your city, or Sangha is another word in a foreign language, Sangha, and then San Diego would be for me, or Dallas, whatever city it is, you will see group meditation experiences that are in your city, and then maybe you could go to a group meditation. Also see if there's a meditation teacher in your community or one online, and that would be someone who could lead you forward. And then also if you have, I put one of these in every single one of the gift bags. So this is studies, and then the podcast, the link to that, and then the link to my website is on the bottom. So everyone should have this in their bags.
Okay. Thank you, Kathleen.